Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special interview here on the Nameless podcast. I am honored to present our first guest ever, my uncle, the man I voted for best teacher out of sheer nepotism, my choir teacher, your favorite teacher, Mr. Brown is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, everybody. What a pleasure to be on.
Woo! Woo!
We did it.
First guest. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Woo!
It's a true honor.
Mr. Brown, our first question is how many students are actually doing online learning? Because I feel like it's kind of, or at least in my eyes, I've been seeing a lot of students talking about it, but I just don't know the actual amount of students actually doing it.
Right. So I would say anywhere between a third and half of the students that we have. So it obviously depends on the class. It depends on, a lot of things. I don't think there are very many that are doing all of the work, but I would say about 33% are engaging really regularly, and about 50% are really regular. About 33% are maybe once a week doing this or that every once in a while.
Because I've been seeing it varies from a lot of classes. Because I remember Dalton telling me it was what was it, 9% of students?
Well, here's the thing. So my English teacher, he usually puts out Google Slides saying oh, good job, you guys did this much work and you guys got this much right. Well, this time he did it on participation instead of how many you got correct or right. And I think one of the class it was 0, one of the class it was 2, and then one of the class was 7, which is good, but that was the biggest class. So yeah,
that's brutal.
Yeah.
And I have, of course, I teach a guitar class, and some of those kids are used to having a guitar provided by the school. So, I mean, their engagement looks completely different, if they don't have a guitar at home, there's only so much you can talk about playing the guitar when you don't have a guitar to play. So,
And
it definitely depends on the class.
I think also too with the the classes that have 0% of people doing it, I feel like the people really aren't taking into account the amount of kids who don't have access to using their Chromebook at home, and that I think at least in my opinion, I feel like the district mainly thought that a lot of kids would have access to this. And so I think that was something that was kind of unforeseen, that kids might not have as much access to, whether it be Wi-Fi or just getting on their Chromebook at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the first day was brutal. The first day for it was brutal.
You turn on your Chromebook after a couple of weeks or whatever, and it just doesn't turn on. You go upstairs to charge it, right? But then it takes 10 minutes to load up, the home page. It's just
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's crazy.
Mhm.
All right. Moving on to the next question.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take that as a yes.
I didn't think it was a question.
Yeah.
Okay,
I thought that was rhetorical.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. As a teacher, in the most safe way possible, what do you think about online learning?
So I think I have two takes, because I think as a teacher I feel one way, and as a student I feel a different way, because I'm lucky enough to have been able to take classes post college and things like that, where online learning was a really big part of it. So as a little bit of background, so I went to a normal public brick and mortar school, and then I went to a college that was all in-person classes. But then after that, I kind of did some post-bachelor work where a lot of it was online. And not only that, a lot of the classes that I took that were in person, I kind of fell into the Khan Academy thing, where, the professor would explain something and it was just intensely confusing. And so then I'd go to Khan Academy or a teacher online that was a little bit slower, a little bit, or just fit the way that I wanted to learn a little bit better. I was able to rewind the videos at complicated parts and things like that. And that really, really benefited me, especially as a non-traditional student working from home, also having a job. So I've always been ever since that experience, I've been very pro online learning. I really, really like it as a student. as a teacher, there's been a lot of really good things that have been a part of it. Like, it's really nice to have so much time to focus on instruction. Like, if you think about a teacher's day, we're in front of students teaching for probably about 90% of an 8-hour day. And that leaves 10% for preparing those things. Now that's almost completely opposite. I have 90% of my time just working on what I'm going to teach, how I'm going to teach it, being able to think things through a little bit more, edit my teaching even with videos. And I only spend about 10% of my time directly, on stage, as I would call it, with students. And that's kind of good, but I strongly believe that only works as like, I think if we didn't have those first 3/4 of person to person, I think 33% and 50% would be way down. Like, I think the only reason why it's kind of working is because of the relationship built, day by day in person. So all that to say, oh goodness, no, I do not want to throw the model out. It's been cool to kind of shake things up a little bit, but I can't imagine trying to form like the most important part of what we do, the relationship between us, and myself and you guys, online. And that is my favorite part of what I do, and I think the most important part of what I do. So there are some good things, but it's only helped, but it only works as well as it is because of the time we got together at school, I think.
Gotcha. And yet that was a question that we were gonna ask later, and I guess we'll just like sort of ask it now, and then you can like answer however you want to it. You're like teaching specifically and being a choir teacher, like that. I don't necessarily know if it requires you in the way that I think it does for you, but like it's very like in front of the class,
Mm-hmm.
like it's not necessarily something where you can send. I don't know how to describe it. Like you could send, like files and PDFs our
Right.
way and then have us sing it, because there could be disconnect, and like something we could be singing could be totally off from what you want to hear. So
Right.
like I just thought that was interesting for like a choir teacher's perspective, because like it's such in my opinion, it's such a different type of teaching from per se your English teacher.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it applies to like E-wing in general too, because
Mhm.
like how do they even teach theater? Because I know that's still going on. But how does that work?
Right now we're like doing interviews about a topic, and then we're gonna like combine those interviews together and make like a monologue, and then we're gonna make like a video and like have sound and stuff all edited into that, and it's gonna be a huge presentation and stuff like
Right.
that.
But Dre brings up a really interesting point, because I mean the one that I think of too is like oral comm, like doing a speech. Like, I just don't know how. Like, there are learning objectives. There are things that you can prove that you can do and learn and test over. But the experience of doing a speech in front of people, I mean, how do you replicate that? And then, like, how can someone who passed like oral comm in semester 2 2020, how does that experience compare with someone from first semester or last year? Are they passing the same class?
Yeah, because there's no stress.
Mm-hmm.
Like my first speech in oral comm last year, I broke down in front of the class.
Yeah.
Like honestly,
I think we all did.
I think if I did that now in like online learning and what we're doing, the stress wouldn't be near as bad, because I'm not performing in front of people. There's no risk. If I mess up, I just restart all over again, and I record an entirely different speech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like recording in front of a camera, like like as seen here, recording in front of a camera is way less stressful than doing stuff like this in person. Like if this like podcast thing was happening in person, I'd probably like be like super quiet, not really saying much.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, for sure, yeah.
That sounds very similar to a current person, Dre. I don't know who you could be talking about. All
I
right.
feel targeted.
You do? Good. Okay. I guess the next question would be, if there is one, what is a change you would like to make to online learning if you could make one? Like Steve Joel, right in front of you, he'll change anything you tell him to change about it. What are you changing?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think just more coordination and direction between teachers, which I don't know how. Like once again, like I would have the ideas, and Dr. Joel would be the one who would have to figure out like how to like make it work. And I have no idea you know, how to coordinate, but just the idea of being able to work together as teachers, as a team, to really kind of get a better idea of what's going on from your guys' perspective. Like one thing I'm trying to do, but I don't know that I'm doing it effectively, is trying to put out as many like student surveys to see, okay, what's your experience? Like what is going on? Because, I can put lessons upon lessons out into the ether, but I want to know, like see, and that's also the hardest thing, because when I put out like a survey or put out a Google form, the people who are going to answer, especially mostly the people who are going to answer, are the ones who are going to do, like if I put out an assignment to, go out and bite a tree, I guarantee I'm going to get 10% of my kids who are just going to do it because they're going to do their work, no matter what. And so, like, my question is, like, how do I get data from the students that aren't, that are having troubles, or that aren't as motivated, so that I can kind of figure out how I can tailor what I'm doing to hit them, better. And then, like, how do we use those and kind of create some better practices among all of us as teachers? So yeah, so I think, how do we gather data from the student population as a whole as to what their experience is, what's helpful, what's working, and what's not working?
Yeah. I think for me personally, my biggest like thing is, I don't know how they do it, but I'm a very hands-on learner.
Yeah.
Like I really like, getting up there and, whether it's improv for theater or singing for choir or like some weird thing for English, reading Shakespeare. Like I really like just like getting up there and doing something. So like right now where everything is on a computer, it's been super difficult to keep focus and like retain knowledge, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I've, like hands-on learning has got to be just about the hardest type that you can try and do right now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anybody got anything to add to that question?
Not necessarily, no. I guess the
Okay.
only thing is that a huge demotivator for me is kind of how dysfunctional and unreliable that the Chromebooks and technology in general can really be. Because some days it'll work perfectly, and then other days it'll literally take 3 minutes to load an error page, and then take an additional 3 minutes to load it again. So it's just really unreliable.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like for Dre and I, like we both have computers, but like the people like at home computers that we can still do the work on, but like you do have to think about those people who don't have that privilege. Like they're gonna have to use their Chromebook, and if you have a Zoom class starting at like 10 or whatever, and you just open up your computer at like 9:50, it legitimately might take like 20 minutes to load up a Zoom page. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
Chromebooks, I get it that they're cheap, and that's kind of the point, because everyone has to have one. But like they're just they're not built for this really. I mean, everyone using them all at once.
Yeah.
I mean, like they can. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Like some days they can barely run even on school days, like when we were actually at school.
Yeah.
So for literally everyone, well, I can't really say everybody, but for like a lot of people, getting onto the same website literally at the same time is just, it's a no-go.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
yeah, it's crazy for sure. Okay, this next question is a bit of a different one from the ones we've been asking. Do you think that the district, Lincoln Public Schools, is reacting accordingly to the situation at hand? And by that, I don't necessarily mean closing schools. I mean like the path that they're taking to make sure that kids are still learning, I guess, but to also, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think so. The words of the season are unprecedented and fluid and all of that stuff. And so I definitely think all of that plays in. I mean, we're all making this up as we go. And I think everybody in every level of leadership is kind of agreeing, like, we're all making this up as we go. So I'm not trying to duck the question for sure, because I think my first answer is, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that I'm not the one having to make those decisions. It's nice being a peon when everything's pretty crazy. But I think that the hardest thing is that they're having to balance the two sides. One side is, we want instruction to keep going. We don't want people to fall behind. And so we want to create opportunities and kind of keep people's feet to the fire in a small way so that things actually get done, and so that we don't have, like a lost generation, quote unquote, of instruction and of learning, so that the kids that are in geometry now can go on to advanced algebra without like an asterisk. So I think that's one side of it. But I think the other side is what we've been talking about, people that don't have the access or don't have the opportunities. We don't want to widen the achievement gap with those folks. So if we make, everything really stringent and pretty much make it so that only the people with the easiest access to everything can get everything done, those kids that were already kind of struggling keeping up with just what all the patterns that we were used to, going to school, getting work done, all that, the ones that were kind of barely hanging on then, they're just going to fall further behind because we're not, I think, making adequate resources. We're not making adequate adjustments for them. So it's just crazy, unprecedented, fluid.
I don't know.
What do you guys think? Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you can go ahead. I've been going first all the time.
Are you sure?
Go ahead.
Okay. I think the district I think they're going about it the best way they can. I don't think students personally think that. I think students think, I don't know how to describe it. I personally, I didn't get the understanding of why there was so much, not necessarily worry, but panic. You know what I mean? Like prepared, not panicked. You know what I mean? Like, It's like, I feel as if, as long as we took necessary precautions, I personally think that we honestly could go to school and we'd be fine. Like, that's what I think. I know most students aren't going to think that, but like, yeah, personally, I think we could go back as long as, I don't know, kids wore, masks and the school was sanitized properly and things were, like, I don't know how to describe it.
I personally think that, I mean, it's not necessarily the district's fault that everything is like this, but it doesn't stop me from saying that it is just a confusing mess, really. Like, and again, it's not necessarily anybody's fault, really, but like, I mean, we still have no idea what's going to happen for finals or how any of this stuff is going to carry over for college credit, or there's just so many questions. And then the longer that I think about it, the more confusing it gets. And I mean, like, nobody really has anybody to blame it on. So like, a lot of people, myself included, kind of like shifted the blame towards the like district in a way, because I'm like, I mean, who else are we really supposed to like direct this towards?
Yeah. How are finals gonna work? Like, do you have any like insight on how those are gonna function? Are we even gonna do finals? Like, what's that gonna be like?
So, what I believe is going to happen, they're not going to change the grading structure. So finals as, this end all be all cumulative for your grade, that's not going to be the case. It's just going to be a part of this S and U system. And it's, if teachers put something out there, I mean, it's what you guys are experiencing. Like, one of the things that you can't have a very reliable test because everything is open note, right? I mean, you guys aren't dumb. Nobody's dumb. You guys get that. Like, so the idea that you could have like a comprehensive final in the way that we've had it in the past, it's just not realistic. I'm not gonna go and cheat on everything, but at the same rate, like if you're a teacher and you're expecting that, I think that's borderline naive.
Yeah.
So like, if there's a comprehensive final, it's just going to be a part of, hey, like, see how much you know from what you're supposed to know, and how do you feel about it, and then once again, it'll fit in the whole. If you do this final, it can help your third quarter grade, right? Like, I think that's all it's going to be. So it's kind of up to the teacher. Like, I would be interested in putting in a quote unquote cumulative final, just specifically for my use, more like a pre-test than anything. Just be like, okay, what do we know? What do we not know? Not for a grading perspective, but just to kind of know where to go step off for next year, I think.
Yeah. Did ACTs happen?
No, I don't think
Like,
so.
that's no, because like I remember seeing a post saying that they were supposed to happen, and then just nobody knew if they ever ended up happening. Like, to my knowledge, I never saw anything. And I get it. I'm not an 11th grader. It's none of my business. But like, to my knowledge, there was no post about ACTs. And like, those are important, man. Like, you need to take your ACTs. So the fact that didn't happen for juniors this year really sucks. I mean, yeah.
Me and Dalton were talking about it on the announcements, and apparently it didn't happen, and there's no makeup date. Like, it's just been postponed indefinitely, which sucks, which is really bad for juniors.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, speaking of what Dre said, there is announcements now. I want to ask Travis how many views that, like, I want to know how many people watched them, because my guess is going to be very low.
Can you send it to me? I still want to see teacher jokes.
You could probably find it in your class of 2020 or whatever.
Okay, I'll do it.
Thanks for the plug, Dalton.
Yeah, no problem. Worked hard.
Announcements.
They are very low quality. Or at least my part.
I thought they were great. They were fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the weirdest things right now is the AP exam, because like it is so it's like, because they posted about it, and they're like, you're gonna write 3 FRQs, and we're gonna instigate something to know that you're not cheating. You know what I mean? But like, what is to stop me from doing the exam on my Chromebook and then getting answers off of my personal laptop? I understand some kids don't have, that luxury of having 2 computers, one that's faster than the other.
But there's a phone.
Like, what is stopping kids from just Googling answers on their phones, even when there is like built-in things to stop cheating on Chromebooks?
Like, you can do I know that some Google Forms, including some of the choir tests, I think, have this like a lock that you can only go on Google Forms. And I mean, that's great if you're in school. The problem is that we're not.
Yeah.
So you can lock the Chromebooks all you want. That's not going to stop that's not going to stop your phone, your personal computer. I don't know, anything else you access the internet with, your Wii U. I don't know.
Hey Alexa, what's the answer to number 7?
Oh man. Um. So I guess leading into the next question, uh, do you think we'll be back to school in August? And if not, when do you think we'll be back?
Man, I don't know. I hope so. Like, I really hope so. And I'll tell you, I'm making all my plans like as if we're going to be there in August. Um, but man, it just depends on so many things. The testing um, seems to be the main one, like the whether we can get enough tests for everybody, and whether we can get the results back in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
Whether I mean, there's just so many variables. I really just have no, like you said, I think that's my answer. I really have no idea, but I'm planning as though we're coming back in August. Like, and that's
Gotcha.
my hope, obviously.
Mhm.
So,
And
There's
then,
just sorry.
I don't know. I guess I'm just curious as to how the whole, like, this is for me personally. I don't know how many other people are gonna care, but like, how are concert choir auditions gonna work? Like, did you already get those done, or like, you know what I mean?
yes, concert choir ones I did get done. And then, and so I think those are already kind of set. And I'm also waiting to know how to communicate that to everyone, or if I'm supposed to. I'm kind of guessing that it's something where, once you look on your class schedule, if you have questions, you let me know and we kind of work from there. So all that to say, yes, we concluded them with the way that I was going to, but at the same rate, if there are questions or if there are things that didn't work, it's not going to be like as set in stone as it might have been in a past year, where, it was what it was and it's over. Like, there's going to be more room for people to have questions, for weird, I don't know how to put it other than like weird stuff to happen, even as early or as late as August. Even that first week of school, like, usually, my men's choir and women's choirs, those rosters will kind of adjust up, and I mean, you guys go to North Star, up until like the end of the first month of school. You're still getting random kids in your class.
Yeah.
It's like, who are you? But usually, even by like the first couple days, that concert choir roster is pretty set. But next year, I don't know if it's going to be within the first week of school. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would also, yeah, and I also just want people not to stress. Like, that's just not something to worry about right now. Like, if that's what you're worried about, shoot me an email. We'll figure something out. Like, but
Yeah.
it's not like set in stone. It's not, yeah.
Gotcha.
It's just super different from other years, especially since like half of the part of concert choir is pretty much being taken out entirely, the concert part.
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely.
I was excited. We had some banger songs that we were about
Yeah.
to. I think Dre and Sam
fantastic.
can agree. This, like, some of the songs for this specific concert coming up were like my favorite songs I personally ever sang with a choir, and
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, I mean, like, they were some of my favorites. So yeah.
Yeah, they were really good. I was actually looking forward to performing them, but yeah, Corona happened, so
All right. So the next question and the last question in our more, I guess, teacher questions, if you wanted to word them that way, before we go on to the ones people ask. What's it like working at home, and how do you maintain that work-life balance while it's all in the same place and your living room is your office?
So I will say that I thought that it would drive me nuts. I love working from home, actually. But once again, like, with the caveat that I only enjoy it because I know my students really well. So, like, I enjoy getting more time to kind of look over what they're doing, and just to work on a bunch of stuff that I've always had planned that I've wanted to do and now I actually have time to do. It's going to get old so fast. And so, all that to say, my job is going to North Star and working with kids, and that's what I enjoy doing. I don't want that to change. So anyway, but being able to hang out with my dog while I'm grading papers is pretty sweet. Um, Obviously, so Allison, my wife, works at North Star too, so she's working at home, which is great. It's not like a big deal to eat lunch together, which it isn't that big of a deal at North Star either because we work in the same building, but it's just a lot easier. Um, uh, I've always used a lot of productivity stuff, and so usually they only really come in handy over the summer to make sure that I'm keeping my goals in front of me and that I'm kind of arranging my schedule according to those things. Usually during school, like I said, my time is so ritual, it's so scheduled and set that I don't really get to be creative about where my focus goes and all that stuff. So now I get to utilize a lot of those things, so that's pretty fun. Um, but I don't know, like, what's the point of all of it? Like, I don't know. There's a disconnect in that, like, if this was the way things were, like, what's the difference between this and like just being an accountant for Office Max? Nothing against that job, but I like my job because of the stuff that happens at the building, brick and mortar, people, person to person interactions. So this is a nice blip, but it's only a nice blip because of all the
Yeah.
time we get together.
Mm-hmm. It's just it's very give and take, really, because there's some things that, I and some other people like love about having to be like self-isolated, like more time to do things.
Dogs.
Like this, like
Dogs.
Dogs.
And then there's also a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't like. Like I would like to see all of you in person again.
Yeah.
But that's not gonna happen for like the indefinite future, because some are saying, oh, it's gonna be ready in May. No, it's gonna be in August. It's gonna be next year. So it's just so confusing. Everybody has a different answer.
Yeah.
I remember when the school year wasn't officially canceled yet, but LPS was already canceling like sport events in May, and so and it's February, and so you're sitting there and you're like, you're just not gonna say anything about the actual school year. You're gonna shut down state basketball. It's like it's super weird. All right. So now moving on to our Q&A AMA, Ask Me Anything portion of this. If we can't get to your question, sorry, we had a lot of questions, and while I'm sure everybody would want to know what sandwich you be or what Beatles album you most relate to, getting to those and sitting here for another hour and a half is probably unachievable. So, Connor Reed, I would assume he's in your guitar class, asks you, how has your day been so far?
Mondays, am I right?
Hey.
Got some supporters on that one.
No, it's my day so far. It's been good. It's been good. William slept in like until he was supposed to, so he didn't wake up at 4 like he did last night. So, that's good. Got the walk in this morning, spent some time doing Duolingo. And then I get to hang out with like 4 of the coolest guys ever. So I mean, I'm living the dream, guys.
That's good.
Connor,
thank you.
Connor Reed also asked, and I think this is more of a question for him. What is I personally, I don't think any of us have any opinion on this one. Is there any chance of you coaching soccer at North Star?
Oh, man. To say that there's no chance is definitely an exaggeration, but I would also say, it's one thing to say I would do it. It's another thing to try to explain that to all the stockholders in my life that that's something we're going to do. We would be transitioning straight from the musical to, soccer tryouts, and that'd be a tough sell, man. But I think it'd be so much fun. Like, yeah, I do miss coaching a lot. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Say you can't do both later in the future. I don't know.
yeah,
That's true. Okay. There is definitely a best for last question that I'm dreading to ask.
Oh, no.
Brody Vesley asked
no.
3 questions. Well, actually, he asked a lot, but we had to trim the fat a little bit. Okay, so he has 3 questions, and I'm gonna go in reverse order of what they say on my PowerPoint. Okay, if you could duet with any musician, who would it be?
Sufjan Stevens.
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, that's my first because I mean he's like one. If you've ever seen the movie Rock Star, where you dream of the lead man kind of going down and be like, oh, does anybody in the crowd know all these songs? And then I get to raise my hand with my acoustic. And I just happen to have my guitar with me. Like that's the dream. Would be Sufjan Stevens, and even better would be like, my voice doesn't work anymore. I'll play them. Can you sing them? And then yeah, the tears would flow. That'd be my dream, I think. First of all,
yeah. Okay, and the next question is what is your weirdest college memory? And if you have more than one, feel free to share. We are trying to keep a PG-13.
There you go. Thank you. That was my question.
Lower rating on the scale. So.
Okay. Weirdest college story?
Yeah.
I think so the obvious answers are like my favorite dorm pranks were a guy had a VW Bug, like a car, and he was a dual major, and I promise this is going somewhere. He was like wanting to be an airline pilot, and so he would be gone for like weeks at a time.
Oh no!
And he would leave and come at the earliest hours of the day. So he always got the best spot in the parking lot, and he would leave his car there for weeks at a time. Ooh. So after asking him, many times, could we please have this better parking spot because we're bringing in groceries, like 4 floors and all that stuff, and him obviously lambasting us about the opportunities that we're missing out on, we moved his VW Bug onto the roof of the dorm.
Like, how do you even do that?
What? We seriously had about 40 guys. Everybody had a corner of it, and so oh man, he was furious. And so that, and then every once in a while, and so that was like the most macro one, because we had to, there had to be enough angry people to be willing to ruin this guy's day. And so that was really fun. And then a few other times, obviously, you move a guy's entire room setup out into the lawn, but you have to, but it's all about the being precise. You have to move everything exactly as it was in his room. So it takes planning. You got to take pictures of where everything is, figure out how to hang the posters, all of that. But yeah, those were some of the crazier things. I would say that the wildest experience that I had was on the soccer team. I was driving the van because I tore my hamstring my senior year, so I had to drive the van, which was awful. But we were driving to St. Louis, and the tire fell off of the van while I was driving it. So sparks everywhere. We had to go back and find it. That was terrifying. And me and my best friend were together on that van, and I've never spent so much money at a convenience store, because we just kept on buying snacks and sodas and everything like that, and just repeating to each other that life is precious. Life is precious. We need this. So yeah, that was a whole thing. But I think those were probably 2 of my wildest ones.
I'm still caught on how do you move a car
to a room?
Did you You said 40 guys, which makes
Yeah.
me believe that you lifted it up and walked it up the stairs?
Yes. Yes. So like the dorm that we were living in was right next to the cafeteria, and the cafeteria had this like outdoor patio area that you could access through these giant stairs, and so like that was 3 floors to go up there, and then so we got to do that with stairs. And so we took it up the 3 floors there, and that was right next to the dorm. So then we just lifted it and pushed it onto the dorm roof.
Oh my. Okay, and then follow up. How did he get the car down?
We had to help him.
Just
Yeah,
drives it
we
off.
had to help him.
It's just still up
That
there.
would have been the ultimate prank.
And to this
Didn't
day.
help him.
To this day, it's still up there. It's like a national monument or something.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Well, he did become an airline pilot, so maybe he
Right.
just flew something, picked it up, and then dropped it off.
Yeah.
He's flying and he sees the car still on the roof and just a tear just falls by.
One solitary
Single.
tear.
Oh man. So oh god, I'm not prepared to ask this question. The final question from Brody Vesley, the final question period, and this one is just he wants to know what Matt DeVore was like as a wee lad.
Oh.
And so I am gonna let you have the floor with this one. Yeah, I'm just
You were a fantastic nephew, Matt. Fantastic. So yeah. No, yeah. So like definitely like so the where the
Top
rubber
3 for
meets
sure.
the road.
top
Yeah.
3.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So where the rubber meets the road is when so you know what kind of nephew or niece you have when your sibling, so in this case my sister, then says, "Oh, I'm pregnant again." So then that gut reaction of how you feel tells you everything about the first one, right? Because if you feel like dread and terror, you know that first one was awful. No, I was really excited when Xando was going to be a thing. So like,
Yeah.
that's a really, really good sign. I will say that William is taking after you because he's doing thrashing dance moves. That was a very important part. That was a very
Taking
important
my
part of your
interpretive dance.
upbringing. Exactly. So, that was very, very helpful. Yeah. So, no, fantastic nephew. Great material. Would recommend.
Well, I dodged a bullet on that one. Glad to see William is about as hip a
Oh, man.
Phew. Wow. Okay, well that could have been a lot worse than imagined. I think that's it. I mean, thank you so much for just sitting and answering our questions, whether you've been asked them, loads of times or you've never been asked them before. Thank you so much for answering them. Ladies and gentlemen, can we get a round of applause for Mr. Kirk Brown?
Yeah.
Thanks. Hey, guys, it's been a real pleasure.
What? They also taste like nothing. So you're gonna sit there with one thing that actually has a somewhat potent flavor against everything that you've decided to eat, and that's sour cream. But guess what? You put extra sour cream on. So now you're gonna take your plane and play your little Half-Life game and complain about sour cream when you specifically asked for them to put on extra sour cream and they got the bland toppings along with your sour cream, bro.
Yeah, but,
Oh my
I asked for
God.
extra sour cream, but you put too much on.
This is not my problem. It's not my problem. You asked for more sour cream than they would normally give you, and you are now complaining. You are now complaining because you messed up one of the 2 menu items one of which I believe didn't even have sour cream on it. So you go eat that one, go right ahead.
I already ate it. Hey.
Dr. Freeman, I presume.
Just listen, okay?
I don't
Sour
think it
cream,
occurred
okay?
to
It's
them that you
nice
might
and
not
all, but
have
like
a
they
map.
put too much on it, bro. I get a burrito bowl and they ask for extra sour cream. They put the whole thing in. They put the whole jar in it, and it's so weird because like an unbalance of temperature. Like everything else is warm, but the sour cream's just like pure cold.
Man, if he
Is he
were.
not gonna rejoin? Is he actually mad?
Oh my god.
Remember him from
Mm.
Black Mesa? Your old
Pretty good though.
Don't get my
Oh my